Welcome to the deep dive. Wow, okay, so Microsoft Build 2025 just happened, and the amount of news is, well, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's like trying to drink from a fire hose, honestly. Huge amount of information in their book of news.
Exactly. So today we've waded through that massive document. Our goal here is to pull out the stuff that really matters to you, the developers, the technical professionals actually building things.
Right. We're going to try and skip the minor version bumps, the marketing spin, and really focus on the big shifts, the new tools, the capabilities that look like they'll actually change how you work.
And it feels like there's one huge overarching theme this year, doesn't it? It's just AI everywhere, but moving beyond chatbots to, well, agents.
Absolutely. AI isn't just a tacked-on feature anymore. Microsoft's positioning it as like a fundamental building block. And these autonomous or semi-autonomous agents seem to be the next big step.
We're seeing it across the board: Azure, Microsoft 365, Windows, even the dev tools themselves.
Yeah. It's all interconnected.
Yeah.
So maybe we should start with how you actually build these agents, particularly in the Microsoft 365 space.
Good place to start. Because they're clearly pushing hard to get people creating and deploying agents kind of everywhere in their ecosystem.
And a big piece of that, especially for larger companies, seems to be grounding these agents in their own specific data and workflows,
Yeah.
making them relevant internally.
Which brings us to something called Copilot tuning. That sounds important. What does that actually mean?
So for the bigger customers, ones with 5,000 or more M365 Copilot licenses, they're rolling out the ability, starting in June, to basically fine-tune the Copilot models
Fine-tune them how?
using their own company data, your internal documents, knowledge bases, process guides, that sort of thing.
Ah, okay. So it's not just using the general Copilot, it's training it to understand our specific company stuff, policies, products.
Precisely. You can tailor it for really specific tasks. Imagine like a law firm training it on case law and internal precedents, or maybe a manufacturing company tuning it on their specific supply chain data.
And the access control follows existing permissions.
That's the crucial part, yeah. Access to the tuned model and the insights it gives respects the existing M365 data permissions. So if you can't see the source data, you can't use the part of the model trained on it.
Got it. So Copilot becomes less of a generalist and more of a specialized internal expert. That makes sense. What about agents interacting within teams? That seems like a natural fit.
Yeah, Teams is definitely becoming a central hub. They're previewing a bunch of new tools this month for agent development in Teams. One really interesting piece is the agent-to-agent protocol, or A2A.
Agent to agent. Why do agents need to talk to each other directly?
Well, it's a secure way for them to communicate peer-to-peer. Instead of always needing some central orchestrator, imagine different specialized agents collaborating.
Yeah.
Like one agent pulls data, another analyzes it, a third drafts a summary, and they coordinate directly using this A2A protocol to get a complex task done. It enables more modular, complex systems.
Right, so you can chain ADAs together more dynamically.
Right.
Makes sense. What else is new for Teams Agent Dev?
They've updated the Teams AI library preview versions in JavaScript and C# to make building these collaborative agents easier. And crucially, agentic memory is coming.
Memory, so the agent remembers past conversations.
Yeah, exactly. It allows the agent to remember interactions with you specifically, so it can provide more personalized, contextual help over time. Less like a stateless bot, more like someone who remembers what you were working on yesterday.
That's a big step towards feeling more natural, definitely.
For sure. And to help developers, they're adding automated validation tools in the developer portal, plus insights into how agents are being adopted and used. You can even build agents right into Teams meetings now, letting them access meeting notes through a new Insights API.
Putting the agent right where the work is happening.
Okay, let's shift to the main workbench for building these things. Microsoft Copilot Studio. Looks like lots of updates there for, well, everyone. Pro coders and low coders.
Yeah, they're really trying to cater to both. For the pro devs, the Microsoft 365 Agents Toolkit for Visual Studio is now generally available, or GA.
That toolkit, along with the M365 Agents SDK, also GA, lets you build more serious, scalable enterprise agents. Think of them as agents that can live outside Copilot Studio itself, maybe as standalone services.
So you build them like regular applications, deploy them where needed.
Pretty much. And they can hook into things like the new Microsoft 365 Copilot APIs. There's a retrieval API in Preview, for example, to securely pull in M365 data to ground your AI experiences. They've also beefed up the Power Platform Connector SDK for pulling in structured data better.
And what about the low-code side, the makers using Copilot Studio directly?
They're getting some powerful new orchestration capabilities too.
Mhm.
Support for multiple agent systems working together is in preview, so you could have agents built in different ways cooperating.
Interesting.
And native support for A2A, that agent-to-agent thing we mentioned, plus MCP, that's the Model Context Protocol, is coming in preview. That really helps with interoperability.
MCP. That sounds like a key standardization piece.
It seems like it. It's a way for agents to discover and interact with capabilities and data sources consistently. MCP support within Copilot Studio is actually GA now, and they're previewing MCP servers for Dataverse and Dynamics 365 data.
Okay, MCP helps agents understand what tools and data are available. Now, you mentioned something, the computer use tool. That sounds intriguing.
Yeah, this one's really interesting, though. It's in a limited frontier program for now.
What does it do?
It essentially allows an AI agent to interact with user interfaces, desktop apps, web apps. It uses AI vision to understand the screen and automate tasks.
Oh, wait, hang on. An AI can literally look at my screen and click buttons or fill forms for me.
That's the idea. It's a massive step towards automating tasks, especially with the older systems that might not have nice, clean APIs.
Wow. Okay, that has huge potential. What other tools are coming to Copilot Studio?
There are preview enhancements for prompt engineering, document processing, that kind of thing, and a code interpreter is in preview.
Code interpreter. So the agent can run code.
Yeah, execute Python code. That unlocks more complex calculations, data analysis, stuff like that, right within the agent's flow.
Giving the agent computational power. And it needs data persistence too, right?
Right. So there's an operational database for agents powered by Dataverse coming in preview. And Dataverse Search is now GA, offering that unified knowledge layer for agents to tap into.
Accessing and acting on enterprise data seems absolutely core to making these agents useful.
Foundational, absolutely. And, alongside all this agent building focus, M365 Copilot itself keeps getting updates. The Wave 2 release, GPT-4o for images, Copilot notebooks hitting GA, new Outlook features. The steady march continues there too.
Okay, so that's a lot on building the agents, especially in the M365 context. But where do you provision the underlying models, manage the whole lifecycle, build the infrastructure for these AI solutions at scale?
Right. That takes us squarely into Azure AI Foundry. Microsoft is positioning this as the unified platform for the whole lifecycle, designing, customizing, operating enterprise AI apps and agents on Azure.
And a big part of that is the models themselves. They're expanding the options significantly.
Massively.
Yeah.
The Azure AI Foundry models catalog is just exploding. They announced Grok 3 is available now.
Wow, okay.
Flux Pro 1.1 is coming soon. Even access to Sora, the video generation model, is coming via Azure OpenAI in preview. And maybe just as important, you now get GA access to over 10,000 open source models from Hugging Face right within Foundry.
That's huge. Having that mix of cutting-edge proprietary models and this vast open source library gives developers a ton of choice, doesn't it?
Exactly. Choose the best fit for your task, your budget. They're also supporting full fine-tuning for many of these, and there's a new developer tier that apparently has no hosting fees, which is interesting.
And the core service for running these agents in Azure.
That's the Azure AI Foundry agent service, and it just hit general availability.
So this is the engine room for deploying and scaling the enterprise agents, the ones pro devs are building.
That's the main idea, yeah. It's built for handling multi-agent workflows, supports those open protocols like A2A and MCP for interoperability. It connects to knowledge sources like Bing, SharePoint, but also Databricks and Fabric.
Connecting to the big data platform.
Right. And they're building out a central catalog of pre-built tools and agent templates in preview to help you get started faster.
What's under the hood, technically? What makes it run?
It uses a unified runtime that brings together semantic kernel and autogen. The idea is you can develop complex agent systems locally using these frameworks and then deploy them to the cloud service pretty easily.
And managing state, conversations.
It supports bring your own thread storage using Azure Cosmos DB. And it has built-in capabilities for what they're calling agent ops.
Agent ops, like DevOps, but for agents.
Pretty much, yeah. It's all about managing the lifecycle, the performance, the reliability of your deployed agents. They're previewing some really robust observability features within Foundry.
Why is observability so critical for these agent systems? They seem more complex than typical apps.
They absolutely are. Agents can sometimes behave unexpectedly, especially when they're interacting with complex data, external systems, or even other agents. So you need to understand why an agent did what it did.
Trace its steps.
Exactly. Trace the flow, pinpoint failures, monitor performance, things like speed and cost, and, crucially, evaluate the quality and safety of what the agent is producing. The new observability dashboard gives you metrics and detailed traces for all that.
So it's not enough to just launch an agent. You have to watch it, understand it.
Continuously. They're also improving the evaluation tools for developers, letting you test during development in the playground, integrate checks into your CI/CD pipeline, and then monitor continuously in production using those traces.
Okay, makes sense. With all those models available now in Foundry, how do you even choose which one to use?
Good question. They're introducing a model router in preview.
Model router.
Yeah, it's designed to automatically pick the best OpenAI model based on cost and quality criteria you set for a given prompt or task. It helps navigate that complexity.
Take some guesswork out of it.
Right, and it supports things like A/B testing different models and rolling back if performance isn't right, based on those evaluation metrics we talked about.
And to speed things up, they have templates.
Yeah, new AI templates in preview for common patterns and use cases. Just helps accelerate getting started.
We keep coming back to data. How does Foundry connect agents to the data they need? Azure AI Search seems key.
It is. There's a new premium preview feature called Agentic Retrieval in Azure AI Search. This isn't just basic keyword search.
How is it different?
It's more like a declarative query engine. An Azure OpenAI model actually analyzes the agent's goal, figures out the base retrieval plan, and then executes that plan against your index data.
So the AI model itself is figuring out how to search based on the conversation or task.
That's the idea. It understands context, conversational history. It's designed specifically for how agents need to interact with knowledge bases, much more intelligently than just matching keywords. Plus, you get logs to see how it's searched.
That sounds much more powerful for our gaze scenarios.
Yeah.
And all this Foundry stuff, models, agent service, search, it integrates with Copilot Studio.
Yes, that's the vision, a seamless flow. So someone building in Copilot Studio can pull in any of those 1,900 plus Foundry models, use models they've fine-tuned in Foundry, leverage those vectorized indexes in Azure AI Search for our
GA now, right? The vector curve.
vector indices in Azure AI Search, RGA, yes. And you can even incorporate those complex multi-agent systems built in the Foundry agent service, which is in preview, into your Copilot Studio agents. The M365 Agent Toolkit helps bridge development across these.
Okay, so tight integration. What about doing some of this AI work locally on your own machine?
Yeah, that's where Azure AI Foundry Local fits in. It's in preview for Windows 11 and Mac OS.
What does it let you do locally?
It brings model inferencing running models, plus the models and agents themselves as a service, and a model playground, all down to your local machine. Faster iteration, basically.
So I can run and test models and agents without constantly pushing to the cloud.
Exactly. It uses ONNX runtime underneath, which is optimized for different hardware. It's great for privacy-sensitive stuff, maybe cost savings, or just working offline. Especially relevant for those new Copilot Plus PCs we'll touch on. It's part of the bigger Windows AI Foundry story.
Okay, got it. Now, with all this power, all this data access, security has to be a massive concern. How's Microsoft tackling that in Azure AI Foundry?
Hugely important, yeah. They're baking security at multiple layers. For content safety, prompt shields in Azure AI Content Safety are now GA.
Prompt shields, what do they do?
They help protect against things like jailbreak attempts or prompt injection attacks trying to trick the model. They're also previewing spotlighting, which tries to detect if someone's hidden adversarial prompts inside external data you might be feeding the model.
Finding hidden attacks in the input data itself. Tricky.
Very. And there's also task adherence and preview checking if the agent is sticking to its assigned job or going off script. Plus, Microsoft Defender for Cloud is integrating directly into the Foundry portal in preview.
So, security recommendations and runtime alerts right there?
Yep. Real-time alerts for threats, security posture recommendations, and the PII detection content filter is GA now within Foundry models, using Azure AI language to catch sensitive data like personal info or health info before it gets processed or exposed.
That's critical for compliance. So safety for the prompts, safety for the data, monitoring the runtime seems pretty comprehensive.
They're trying to cover the bases, integrating AI security into the broader cloud security picture.
Okay, let's pick it back to data because, as you said, it's the fuel for all these agents. What are the big data platform updates supporting this AI push?
Data is everything here. A really significant announcement is Cosmos DB coming to Fabric in preview.
Cosmos DB, the NoSQL database, right? Bringing that into Fabric. Why is that a big deal?
It's huge for unifying operational data, the fast, live data applications use with the analytical data Fabric manages. Cosmos DB gives you that global scale, low latency for semi-structured data. Putting it in Fabric means you can seamlessly query across your real-time app data and your data lakehouse in one lake.
Ah, so agents can easily access both the live transactional stuff and the historical analytical data within the same environment.
That's the promise. Easier insights, powering agents that need both perspectives. They also announced a preview Azure Databricks connector for Azure AI Foundry agents.
Letting agents tap into Databricks.
Yeah, securely access data and even trigger Spark jobs in Databricks, all while respecting the permissions set in Unity Catalog. It even supports querying Databricks data using natural language via something called GD rooms.
Connecting agents to those big Spark clusters opens up a lot. And speaking of natural language queries, that chat with your data idea is spreading.
Big time. It's coming to Power BI. There's a full-screen Copilot experience hitting GA soon. You'll be able to ask questions across multiple reports, models, even other data agents right within Power BI.
No more hunting through dashboards.
Hopefully. And it's also coming to Copilot Studio itself, previewing in the next few weeks.
How does chat with your data work in Copilot Studio?
It means you can build your custom agents in Studio, and they can be directly enriched with insights pulled from your Fabric data agents. So your agent can ask questions of your organizational data in one lake, respecting all the governance, and maybe even trigger actions based on the answers.
Connects the agent building directly to the governed enterprise data lakehouse. Very powerful.
Very. Another interesting data piece, especially for IoT or physical asset scenarios, is the digital twin builder in Fabric. It's in preview within the real-time intelligence part of Fabric.
Building digital twins.
Yeah, a no-code, low-code way to create and manage digital representations of physical things, connect their data streams, and contextualize it all for analytics and AI within Fabric.
Okay. Shifting gears slightly to specific databases developers love, PostgreSQL and SQL Server. Anything new there?
Oh yeah, big news for Postgres fans. There's a new preview PostgreSQL extension for VS Code, and it has deep GitHub Copilot integration.
That sounds useful. Postgres and VS Code are super popular, right?
Consistently top in developer surveys, yeah. So bringing AI assistants directly into that specific workflow, helping write efficient SQL, design schemas, follow best practices using natural language, right in the editor, that's a direct productivity win.
Copilot understanding your Postgres schema and helping you query it in VS Code. Nice. What about Azure Cosmos DB itself?
A couple of things.
No.
Global Secondary Index is in preview for Cosmos DB NoSQL. It lets you create optimized indexes on just subsets of your data for complex queries, maybe for AI apps, without hurting your main transaction speed.
Better indexing for specific query patterns.
Right. And the integration with Azure AI Foundry is getting tighter. Using Cosmos DB to store agent conversation history is now GA, and coming soon, apparently in the next few weeks, is the ability for AI solutions in Foundry to connect directly to real-time operational data streams from Cosmos DB.
Directly consume live data from Cosmos DB into Foundry agents.
Yeah, making it the first Azure database with that direct real-time feed into Foundry AI solutions, bringing that low-latency operational data straight to the AI.
And just to reiterate on PostgreSQL, that VS Code extension offers full management capabilities too.
Yeah, the preview extension isn't just Copilot. It's a high-quality tool for connection management, exploring objects, editing queries with IntelliSense, viewing results, all inside VS Code.
Good stuff. And SQL Server, the on-prem stalwart.
SQL Server 2025 is in preview now. The focus is really on enabling modern AI applications, but using the familiar T-SQL developers know.
How? What's AI related in SQL Server 25?
It have built-in AI capabilities, ways to extend it with more AI, developer productivity boosts like better JSON and REST API support, and much deeper integration with Azure and Fabric. Think zero ETL replication to one lake in Fabric, plus enhanced security, like using Entra ID managed identities via Azure Arc.
And Copilot comes to SQL Server Management Studio.
Yep, Copilot integration in SSMS 21, which is GA itself, is in preview. So AI assistance for writing and tuning T-SQL right within Management Studio.
Okay, back in Fabric, in the data lakehouse, One Lake is getting smarter about data coming in.
Yeah, shortcut transformations in One Lake is a neat new preview feature. When you create a shortcut to bring data into One Lake.
Like pointing to data without moving it.
Exactly. Now you can automatically apply transformations as that data comes in or moves around via the shortcut. Things like converting file formats, maybe Parquet to Delta Lake, or even applying AI transformations like summarizing text or translating languages on the fly.
So data gets prepped for AI almost automatically as it lands.
That's the goal. Reduce those ETL steps. And one more thing, bridging analytics and action. Translytical task flows in Fabric Power BI are in preview.
Translytical. What does that mean?
It lets users trigger actions directly from within a Power BI report, like see an insight, click a button in the report, and it writes data back to a database, or calls an external API to start a workflow.
Closing the loop from insight to action right in the report.
Exactly, connecting the analytical world back to the transactional processes.
Okay, wow. We've covered building agents, the platform, the data fuel. Let's talk about how this AI and agent stuff is changing the process of building software itself, the whole agentic DevOps idea.
Right. This feels like a significant evolution. The idea is that these agents, autonomous or semi-autonomous, become like members of the dev and ops teams, automating tasks, optimizing workflows, speeding up the whole life cycle.
And GitHub Copilot is moving way beyond just suggesting lines of code.
Oh, absolutely. Most of these new capabilities are in preview, but they're ambitious. The GitHub Copilot coding agent is being designed to handle much bigger, more complex tasks across multiple files. Think of it less as a suggestion tool and more as a delegate.
Delegate what kind of tasks?
Things like refactor this module across these 5 files, or write unit tests covering this new feature, or find and fix this bug, or even implement this small feature based on this spec. It's meant to perform these tasks, not just suggest code snippets.
That's a big leap. And related to that, there are specific agents for app modernization.
Yes, also powered by AI. These are aimed at helping update older Java and .NET apps running on Azure. They can analyze the code base, figure out what needs changing for newer platforms or libraries, and actually help make those changes across potentially thousands of files.
Taking on technical debt with AI help, that could save massive amounts of time.
Potentially, yeah. From months down to hours is the claim.
And then there's the ops side.
Right, the SRE agent.
A new SRE agent, preview coming in weeks. This one's designed to automatically react to production alerts. You can try initial mitigation steps, help with root cause analysis, monitor app health on Azure services, Kubernetes, PaaS, databases.
And it can work with the coding agent.
Yeah, it can collaborate with the Copilot coding agents if a code fix is actually needed to resolve the production issue.
An AI SRE. That really could change how ops teams function, handling that initial alert fatigue.
Could automate a lot of the first response, definitely. And connecting this back to the platform, GitHub Models is about bringing those Azure AI Foundry models directly into the GitHub workflow. So developers can use AI models right from within GitHub.
Yeah, a central place in GitHub to find models, evaluate them cost, performance prototype AI features right next to your code, and deploy them. It embeds the AI model workflow into the dev environment.
And inside the IDE itself, what's GitHub Copilot Agent Mode?
Agent mode is previewing in VS Code, Visual Studio, and expanding. This is where Copilot really tries to be that peer programmer in the editor. You give it a higher level goal.
Like, build this feature or fix this error.
Exactly. And it understands the context across multiple files and helps you make those changes. It's not just suggesting the next line. It's helping with the whole task, involving multiple steps and files from one prompt.
Understanding the whole project context. And finally, a big move for the community.
Yes, they announced they are open sourcing GitHub Copilot Chat in VS Code.
Open sourcing the chat interface itself.
Yeah, over the next few months, the core chat functionality becomes part of the main VS Code open source repo. That's a pretty big deal.
Allows the community to see how it works, contribute, build on it.
Exactly. Fosters more community-driven innovation in AI-assisted development tools.
Okay, let's bring this all the way down to the metal, or at least the desktop. AI and developer enhancements on Windows and Edge.
Right. Windows is definitely being positioned as a first-class platform for local AI development now, centered around the Windows AI Foundry. This is sort of the evolution of the Windows Copilot runtime.
What's in this Windows AI Foundry?
Key parts include Windows ML. That's the built-in OS runtime for doing efficient AI inferencing on the device across different chips, AMD, Intel, NVIDIA, Qualcomm.
So the OS handles optimizing for the hardware.
Yeah, and they have a simplified deployment model in preview, so devs hopefully don't need to bundle specific runtimes. Windows ML figures it out. There's also the AI toolkit for VS Code in preview.
What does the toolkit do?
Tools to help prep models for running locally, converting them, quantizing them to make them smaller, optimizing profiling performance.
And this connects back to the Azure AI Foundry we talked about earlier.
Yes, through integration with Foundry Local Preview. This lets you easily find and pull down ready-to-use open-source models from the Azure catalog that are optimized for Windows hardware. Browse, test, integrate locally via CLI or SDK.
Discover in Azure, run efficiently on Windows. Makes sense. And Windows is getting its own AI APIs.
Yeah, ready-to-use APIs powered by on-device models, especially for the new Copilot Plus PCs. These Windows AI APIs aim to make it easy to add local AI features.
Like what kind of features?
For instance, LoRaWAN for Phisilica is previewing on Snapdragon X systems initially. It allows efficient local fine-tuning of the Phi model using your own data.
Fine-tuning on the device itself.
Yeah, and there's knowledge retrieval for LLMs and semantic search in preview. This enables semantic search in RAC using your local data right on the device. Plus, existing APIs for text and image generation using on-device models are hitting GA on Copilot Plus PCs.
That's putting serious AI power directly on the client, grounded in local data. What about agents interacting with Windows apps?
That's where Model Context Protocol, MCP, on Windows in private preview, and App Actions on Windows come in. The goal is to make Windows apps discoverable and controllable by AI agents.
How does MCP work on Windows?
It provides a standard framework. There's an MCP registry for agents to find installed MCP servers, and Windows itself exposes system, things like the file system, window management, even WSL as MCP servers. Developers can wrap their own app features as MCP servers too. Security is obviously a big focus here.
And app actions.
App actions are how developers can expose specific features of their apps as standard actions that agents can call. These can also act as MCP servers. The APIs are in the Windows SDK now, and there's a testing tool in the store.
So you're basically defining an API for your app that agents can understand.
That's a good way to put it, making apps part of the agent ecosystem. Beyond AI, there are also some nice developer productivity improvements in Windows itself.
Oh, like what?
Winget configuration hits GA in summer 2025. Define your whole dev environment in a file, apps, packages, tools, maybe even settings, and set it up with one command. Great for onboarding or consistency.
Nice.
WSL is now fully open source, which is significant. A new advanced Windows settings page is coming for insiders to surface powerful but often hidden settings. The command palette in PowerToys is GA quick access to commands and apps system-wide. And a new command line text editor called Edit is coming this summer for insiders.
A proper built-in CLI editor for Windows. Interesting.
Yeah, could be handy. There's also a preview VBS Enclave SDK for building secure computing modules.
Any security or privacy changes developers absolutely need to know about?
Yes, two big ones in preview impact and privacy. Administrator protection will require Windows Hello for elevation. More critically for apps, the default desktop app access to sensitive things like camera, mic, location is changing to OF by default.
Oh, okay. Apps will need explicit user consent.
Explicit user consent will be required. Developers really need to check their apps and make sure they request permissions correctly, ideally using package identity. Otherwise, features might just stop working.
That's a heads up developers need to take seriously. What about the Windows App SDK itself?
It's incorporating those new Windows AI capabilities naturally. Big change coming in June's experimental release. A NuGet meta package model.
Meaning?
You'll be able to pick and choose only the SDK components you actually need, making apps smaller. Also, React Native for Windows v 0.80 is GA, supporting the new architecture and using Windows App SDK WinUI 3.
Okay. And for getting apps out there, any changes to the Microsoft Store on Windows?
Several preview updates aimed at developers. Starting June 2025, zero onboarding fees for individual developers.
Removing the fee for individuals, that's great.
Should lower the barrier.
Yeah.
They're also adding app campaigns via Microsoft advertising for better reach, expanded health reports in Partner Center with more insights on crashes and installs.
Better analytics.
Right. Support for updating Win32 apps directly in the store, even if they were previously updated externally. And the store will finally show when an app was last updated.
About time. Okay, one last area, future-proofing security. Post-quantum crypto.
Yeah, they're starting to integrate post-quantum cryptography algorithms, things like MLChem and MLDSA, into Windows Insider builds and their crypto libraries like SymCrypt OpenSSL, all in preview.
Why now?
To let developers and organizations start experimenting, prepare for that harvest now, decrypt later threat from future quantum computers. Start validating PQC for things like digital signatures now.
Getting ahead of the curve. Smart.
Essential, really.
Okay. Wow. That was a journey through the Build 2025 Book of News, from agents in M365 through Azure AI Foundry, the critical role of data, agentic DevOps, Windows AI, and wrapping it all in security.
It really covers the gamut, doesn't it? The sheer volume is one thing, but the interconnectedness is what really stands out. AI and agents aren't add-ons. They're being woven into the fabric of everything.
Yeah, that's the clear message. Empowering developers for this AI-driven future seems to be the core focus, boosting productivity, making data integration smoother, but also stressing that security and governance have to be front and center.
Absolutely. This was definitely just the highlights reel, though. There's so much more detail in the full announcements. We really encourage you, the listener, to dig into the specific areas that matter most to your work.
Definitely. And maybe as we wrap up, here's something to think about as we all start building with these increasingly powerful tools. As these AI agents get more autonomous, as they get embedded deeper into our workflows and have access to more and more of our data, what are the really critical ethical guardrails, the governance structures we need to put in place?
That's the big question, isn't it?
How do we make sure this future is not just faster and more efficient, but also responsible, fair, and ultimately trustworthy? It's not a one-time answer.
No, it requires constant vigilance and conversation from all of us involved, the builders, the users, everyone.
Well said. All right. That's all for this deep dive. We hope this breakdown of the Microsoft Build 2025 news was useful for you.